Lady Boule, and I hope you are having a most marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Today, I want to speak on a question that's often brought up on this channel. And that question is, what has the Boule done for black people? This is a question that is asked mostly by men, but also by some women who click by this channel, asking me why I call myself Boule, which I have explained several times, and what has the Boule done for black people? Well, before I really try to answer that question, my question is, what are black people doing for themselves? Because there always seems to be somebody in the background that's supposed to do something for black people. I was brought up in the South in the 60s, and my father would tell all of his children, the world doesn't owe you anything. You have to make your way in the world yourself. And he made us understand that that's based on vision, discipline, and sacrifice. You can't get what you want right away. Sometimes you have to work for it. Sometimes you have to sacrifice for it. And you definitely have to discipline yourself to carry through with a goal that you set. And it is important that you set goals for yourself at different stages of your life. And you have to work toward those goals. And that work includes sacrifice and discipline and staying on task. See, it never occurred to me to get pregnant and have a baby without being married to the man, or that I had the luxury of doing drugs. Didn't have the money for them, for one thing. And as far as having babies out of wedlock, again, my father said, talking to his daughters, if you have a baby out of wedlock, you are going to handicap yourself, because the man will be gone on somewhere else looking for somebody else, and that baby will be your responsibility. Our father used to talk straight facts to us, and he made us to understand that you are responsible for your life. And one time when our father was lecturing us, I was going to be a smart aleck. And I said, well, Daddy, what would you do if I got pregnant? I think I was about 15 or 16. And I asked him that just to see what he was going to say. And what he said was, you're asking the wrong person. You should ask the person that's going to be responsible, what will he do? I had no answer because I wasn't expecting him to come from that angle. But what I can say is, both our parents worked together when it came to raising children. My father had his way of teaching, and our mother had her way of teaching. And her main thing was to work on self-esteem, self-image, and self-respect. And she would say to anybody that would listen, my children are just as good as anybody, but they are no better than anybody's children. And she would also brag to other people in the community, all my children good looking, all my children look good. And so naturally she was prejudiced, but we were all varying shades of brown. Some of us were a little darker than others, but we were all in the Brown family. And she swore she had the best looking children in town. We were not, by anybody else's standards. But she wanted us to understand there was nothing wrong with the way we looked. And so I did not grow up with a self-esteem problem. There was colorism in the black community. There has always been colorism in the black community. But I have always been able to find my place with black men. I have told this story about being in college, and we were in a class, and this football player who thought he was so much, dark-skinned, not so attractive, wandered into our class one day. And he was looking around, looking over everybody. And there was one light-skinned girl, really racially ambiguous, but she was really black. She had two black parents, but she just happened to be very light-skinned. So he looked at all of us and she's the only one in the class that looked like anything. Talking about this racially ambiguous girl. And so our psychology teacher had told us, when these boys go after you, you go back after them. And when we told him, we were scared because they might beat us up. He said, no, they won't either. They ain't crazy. But anyway, when that boy said that, he set off something in me. And I turned around and told him, I said, cute boys like me, and if I took you home, my dad would get the shotgun. And another girl said, and my dad would call the zoo truck. And so that's how we chose to deal with it, to let him know there's nothing wrong with us. If you like the light-skinned girl, that's fine. You ain't got to say nothing about us. But my mother's teaching has always stayed with me. So I don't care if somebody's lighter than I am or darker than I am. I find my place, because the fact of the matter is, my husband is very light-skinned. So, he liked darker-skinned women. And when we have had discussions about his preferences in women, he said, I dated all of them. I didn't really have a preference. My parents have both transitioned into eternal life, but their teachings stayed with me. And every time I hear something about colorism, I remember what my mother told us. And I don't care what happened at school, at church, when we were in the neighborhood playing with other kids, no matter what came up, she was going to say something reaffirming. And back to colorism, my father really was color struck because my mother was red. She was a big red woman. And he liked the big red woman. But she liked dark-skinned men. So whenever he started talking about them red bones and them yellow bones, my mother used to start pointing out the red bones and the yellow bones in the community, that if they were dark-skinned, they would be ugly as hell. And this is another sidebar, but I have a friend who also comes from a family where the mother was light-skinned and the father's very dark. But in her family, they had real red bones and then real brown bones. Like she and I were about the same color. She said light-skinned women think the world owes them a lot of money. It was funny to me, and I was always thankful that we didn't have those wide variations of color in our family. But back to my point, I got off track. I was not brought up in an area or in an era where people thought somebody else was supposed to do something for them. So how your life turns out in the world is mostly determined by you. So it is really puzzling to me that grown people would ask a question about what some other person has done for them or is doing for them. Now, yes, I am a reparationist. I know that we deserve reparations. And I believe we're going to get reparations. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I believe we're going to get reparations. But the reparations are going to be for what our foreparents worked for. And that does not make up for what we ought to be working for now, in my opinion. Reparations should be a fund for us to develop the next generation and the next generation and the next generation, so that everybody black in the United States is not in a constant state of struggle. So reparations should be for a cushion for families, not for you to have to pay your rent and buy a car with reparations. That you ought to work for that. I'm sorry, but this is the most robust economy in the world. You can get a job in the United States of America if you want one. So reparations should be for building the next generation and building and building and building and building the institutions and the systems that we need to sustain our tribe or our ethnic group. Now, to answer your question, what has the Boule done for black people? The Boule was not established to do something for black people. This is what is missing. I don't know how we got in the atmosphere that the Boule was supposed to do something for black people. Those men that founded that Boule did it for social interaction with each other. They said they founded it to be in the company of like-minded people. It was and is an elitist black male organization. They are very selective about whom they will let join. but the people that are selected are very accomplished in their field of expertise, for lack of a better word. Whether it's in business, whether they're professional, whether it's military, or whether you are a guy who decided that you're going to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you became very successful at it, that is the kind of man that the Boule wants. And they do like to pick from the fraternities. I am going to put the link to the Boule's website in the description box so that anybody who wants to go there and read up on their organization, what they do and what they're about, you can do it. Now, there are going to be people on social media who know more about the organization than the people that are in it. But you can read what they have to say for yourselves and draw your own conclusions. But they never started out to be doing anything for black people. Now, if somebody can tell me something where it says the Boule started out as an organization, or that it functions as an organization to do something for black people, please let me know. Let me know if they say they started out to function for black people, but they decided they didn't want to do it or they don't do it. Then let me know, because as far as I know, they didn't start out saying they want to do anything for black people. In recent years, they have developed a social conscience, and they have included in their mission statement the charitable events that they're interested in. And the reason that politicians and business leaders and community leaders deal with Boule people is because anybody who is actually doing something is going to deal with other people who are doing something. Nobody's going to deal with you if you don't have a history of succeeding at something, especially if you're black. So if the politicians go to the Boule people, are the ones that are called Boule, it's because those are the people who are doing something in the community. But let me point out that everybody that they call Boule are not really in the Boule. They are just successful black people that politicians, business leaders, and community leaders go to for information about the black community. And I know men in the Boule. Yes, I do. And when I talk to them, they will say routinely that when they have opportunities, because these business leaders, these white people who get money from the government, those programs they get require them to have a certain number of black people, and then they go looking for the black people, and sometimes they can't even find anybody to fill the positions because of the requirements and because of the discipline that is required to do those jobs. I have a close friend that's in the Boule who a few years ago was looking for young black men in Terry Sewell's district in Alabama. Terry Sewell is the only black representative from Alabama. He was looking for black men to apply for small business loans. He could only find 2 black men that were serious about trying to start a business. But guess who was ready? Black women. Black women had ideas about starting businesses. One of them was doing a bakery, one of them was doing naturally a beauty salon, and one of them was doing a clothing store. She was trying to do something like a consignment shop, but they had a plan. And these Boule type black men that I know operate on a schedule. They don't have a lot of patience. People who are doing something want to deal with people who have a plan and who want to get started. A lot of black men are getting opportunities through these organizations, but they are not going to beg you. When the opportunities come, you have to be ready. So that's what the Boule is doing for black people. The Boule is modeling behavior and setting examples for what black people in America can do. You don't have to be light-skinned, you don't have to be a genius, you don't have to be good at football, basketball, or baseball, and you don't have to know how to rap. You need to have a vision for how you want your life to go. You need to set goals, and you need to discipline yourself and sacrifice to accomplish those goals. Okay, y'all? That's all I got to say about it. Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the video. And as always, have a great day.